What's going on, everybody? Tim here, back with another video. Just out taking a beautiful morning walk here in Southeast Portland. I wanted to do a walk and talk in this area just because so many people, when they hear about Portland, all they see is like the stuff downtown and, you know, the not good stuff. So I wanted to just show some of the good stuff. You know, I've been walking around these neighborhoods for the past couple days. They're gorgeous. The flowers, the trees are blooming. The grass is green. The weather's nice. Yeah, so I wanted to take y'all with me as we walk around some of these little neighborhoods. That's not what this video is about, though. Shout out to Portland, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about quitting your job. Now, I have been on the internet telling people to quit their job if they're not happy for years. You know, I'm the self-titled Mr. Quit Your Job, right? And a lot of my older videos on that topic are still getting views and still getting comments, still getting engagement. So I know it's a topic that people are still interested in. However, I've noticed an uptick in the number of people commenting and saying, hey, this might have been good advice in 2017, right? But they're like, with this job market, I don't think that's good advice. Or people are asking, they're like, hey, with the current job market, do you think it's still good advice to quit your job if you're not happy? A lot of people using the word job market these days, I've noticed. So I wanted to do an updated video and talk about my views on quitting your job in today's job market. Now, first and foremost, I want to say, you don't need a good job market. You just need a job. That's what I want to say first and foremost. You don't need a good job market. You don't need a perfect job market. You just need a job. If you choose to continue working for someone else, doing the 9 to 5, you just need a job. The job market doesn't have to be good, right? You can do the statistics. You can look at the statistics. You can run the numbers. What is it? 160, 170 million jobs in America. There's still, the last stats that I could find, there's still like 7-8 million jobs that are open. Even in 2025, everyone's like, there's no jobs. There's still like 8 million jobs that are open. So keep that in mind. Now, as far as my personal belief and how I feel in 2025 in this job market, I say yes. Still, if your job is making you unhappy, if you wake up with a sense of dread before you go to work, if you can just tell it's messing with your mental health, if your job is messing with your physical health, right? If there's any area of your life that your job is having a negative impact on, then I think you need to quit or start coming up with a plan to quit. And I don't think it matters about the job market. Here's the thing, folks. We are very good at like visualizing the negatives that can happen a lot of times physically. People are like, you can't quit your job. How are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to eat? We're very good at visualizing those type of things. We're not so good at visualizing the negative impact of like mental things, right? Our physical health, a lot of times we're very concerned about it. I gotta eat, you know, gotta have a place to stay. Our physical comfort, I'll say, I gotta eat, gotta have a place to stay, things like that, which are important. Gotta take care of responsibilities. We're not so good at thinking about the negatives that come from mental things, right? There is a huge impact. And I would almost argue in some cases, it is a bigger impact. Let me cross the street here. Make sure nobody's coming. I think there is a bigger impact with a lot of the mental stuff that goes on and the mental strain that happens when we're working 9 to 5 or, you know, 8 to 6, 40, 50, 60 hours a week at a job that like isn't good for us. But we don't think about that. We don't see that. We don't look towards the future and think, what will 5 more years? There's a lot of pollen out today, folks. The eyes watering. We don't look forward and say, what will 5 more years of this job do to me mentally? And that is very important. You know, we don't look at it and say, hey, if this job is making me just like aggravated and I'm come home angry or I come home so tired, what effect is that having on my family? What effect is that having on my love life? What effect is that having on my kids? We don't think about that type of stuff. The first thing we go to is how I'm gonna pay the bills, how I'm gonna eat. And I'm just like, we have to weigh all of that All of that's important. And so that's why I say, if the job you're currently working at is affecting any of that, and you look forward and you're like, man, this ain't gonna be healthy for me, it doesn't matter what the world around you is saying. It doesn't matter if everybody else is like, the job market is bad. You need to get up out of there. And you know it. That's the thing. You know it. If you ask anybody who quit their job in a manner that a lot of people were like, that's weird, that was reckless, you shouldn't have done that, most of them will tell you, I knew I had to. Some of you watching the video right now know you need to. You know you have to, right? And of course, it's normal to be scared. It's normal to be scared. I've quit so many jobs, but I still get nervous. You know what I mean? Because one day you have a paycheck, the next you don't. And that's why I say you don't have to immediately quit your job. Just walk out the door. It feels great if you do. Try it at least once in your life. Try it at least once in your life. You'll be happy you did. It's a great story to tell the grandkids. And you'll see the envy in your friends' eyes because they never do it. But you can start formulating a plan. Most people just start like resigning themselves to the fact that like, this is what I got to do. The job market is bad. The economy's bad. Can't quit your job now. My thing is this, there's always going to be open jobs. Even in the height of the Great Depression, there were some jobs. Not a lot, but there were some. I promise you, there's some people who got their dream job in 1933, right? So even in the height of like bad economic times, which I don't think we're currently in, I don't think we're in the height of bad economic times. We're going through some stuff, but I think there's still available jobs, right? And I think too, like when we hear about all these layoffs and things of that nature, if we're being honest, a lot of those jobs aren't in fields a lot of us are in, right? We'll look at the numbers of like layoffs in tech and be like, oh, I'll never find another job. It's like, you ain't in tech. You don't work for Google, you know? Like, that has nothing to do with you. We're so good about just hearing these sound bites and listening to people, you know, these pundits and these talking heads just tell us what's going on around us. And then we just shape our lives based on that. I'm like, you know how crazy that is? I feel like I'm crying out here. we gonna keep filming though. I'm like, you know how crazy that is? To kind of base major life decisions off something you heard on television or something you read on social media. It's like, we can do the research, folks. Do you know there are fields that are still hiring like crazy? There are employers out there who's like, I got good money to pay. I got good benefits to give. I just can't find nobody to work. There's opportunities out there. And it might mean shifting careers, which that might be a good thing. The career you're in might be the reason you're miserable. It might not be the job. It could be the job and the career. Maybe a different line of work is what's needed, right? But you can do the research. I love the fact that like, we have the Googles, folks. We have the Googles. We can literally just type in areas where they're still hiring like crazy. You know what I mean? Career fields that, you know, are underemployed. I mean, if you want to get really drastic, you can, you know, just type in like areas with very low unemployment. And, you know, if you're willing to make a move or something of that nature, like there's steps you can take. There's always steps you can take. There's always action. We can start formulating a plan. Do your research. People always ask me, I was thinking about this earlier. People always ask me like, you know, what's your number one advice for young people? I'm gonna start saying, do your research, right? We've lost the fine art of doing research. People tell us stuff, we just believe it. It's like, do your research. Do your research, just kind of figure out like, okay, I want another job. I need to make X amount of money. I need this, you know, come up with what you need and then start looking for it. Figure out where that's at. And so like, I think someone who's willing to do that, no matter what's going on in the world, can figure out eventually a solution, can get where they're trying to go. Or you might be like, you know what, I'm done with the 9 to 5, right? I'm gonna start my own business, or I'm gonna do something else, or, you know, and research that, figure that out. But like, it's that resignation of like, oh, well, everybody says the job market is bad, so I guess I better stay at this job. That doesn't lead to, in my opinion, a healthy long-term life. We're trying to live healthy lives. We're trying to live lives that like 10 years from now, we're excited to be living, right? I don't want us to look up 5, 10, 15 years from now and still be going through the same issues we're going through now, are still at the same job, but instead of it, being what it was now, is 10 times as worse. It's 50 times as worse. Our mental health is totally in the toilet now. We're physically broken. I don't want us to live those type of lives. I want us to do what we need to do to better our lives. And I honestly feel like that can be done in any economy, any job market. But I think we have to understand that it is possible and believe in ourselves. Like, we don't believe in ourselves. And then we let other people who don't believe in themselves make us not believe in ourselves. Hello. Traffic jam back there. Okay. We're always listening to people who themselves might be scared or who don't believe in themselves and who are like, man, I can't do it. And I think a lot of times the people who commenting, who are like, oh, you better not quit your job. Like in this situation, I think sometimes they mean well, but they just been programmed by the system. But I think a lot of them are people who low-key want to quit, but they know they're too scared, so they want you to be scared. They know they're too scared to do it. They know they're worried, and I understand the fear. I understand the anxiety. So if you sit around listening to the news all the time. So I understand that. What I don't understand is feeling like you need to go to the internet and scare other people. That's what bothers me. But yeah, we can decide that we're not going to let other people's perspectives, other people's viewpoints, other people's fears shape our life. If you are at a job and you know you need to get up out of there, get up out of there. I don't care what's going on in the world. Okay? You were not put here. I personally believe in a higher power. I don't think that higher power put me here to work at a job, spend that much time, 40, 50, 60 hours a week, miserable. I don't think it did. And I hold on to that. We can think bigger than the economy, than the job market, folks. We can think bigger than some of this human stuff. Something put us here. And it provided a beautiful planet. It provided all of these wonderful activities we could possibly be doing. Humans came up with this concept of money and having to have a job to make it. But we can think bigger than that. It's okay, yeah, I might live in a society where I need some money. These are the bills I got to pay, things I got to do. But that doesn't mean we have to just resign ourselves to getting that money in whatever way society says this is the only way you can do it, especially if you live in a free country where you're able to decide how you work, where you work, and when you work. It might take some sacrifices, folks. I'm not going to say that some of us might not benefit from, killing off some of our bills and living within our means. Actually, I think all of us could benefit from that. But those things are possible. Those things are doable. It may not be the easiest thing. It might have been easier in 2017, but it's not impossible now. There are steps we can take. There's always steps we can take. There's always action. You'll notice there's two types of people. There's the people who take action, and typically they change their life. Actually, when you take action, you're going to change your life. Sometimes we take bad actions and change our life for the worse. But if you take action, you're going to change your life. So there's people who take action, and there's people who just talk and try to talk you out of taking action. We're action takers around here. And we're the type of people that you look up 5 years from now, we're telling you about that bad job we used to have, that we quit, and the great job or the great business we have now. And we're talking to the people who didn't take action. And they're asking us for advice. So in order to help ourselves and to help them in the future, yes, 2025, you don't like your job. I'm still Mr. Quit Your Job. Go find you a better one, which will lead to a better life, because that's what we're trying to do around here. I love y'all all. Talk to y'all later.